There could be 20, 30% of the union membership that does not like their union. They want a union. They're afraid to opt out of their union, but that doesn't mean that the union has 60%, 70%, whatever their percentage is. They don't have that much support. You should consider their support 20, 30% less than whatever the membership is, and then reevaluate to see if maybe you have the numbers to decertify or form a local independent union. So there's a lot of things to consider that way, like math. You're not alone.
There are places like Colorado and here in Virginia where school boards have a lot of power to enact local policy, but school boards everywhere do have power over things like release time, whether or not you're paying the union officers as if they've never left the classroom. They have things like power over negotiation power over facilities access to some degree. Most states they do not have, but some states they do. They can negotiate for payroll deduction and things like that. But a lot of times, in most states, like it's state law that governs whether or not the school board could actually end that relationship, and it usually has to be done through the election process that's defined in the statute.
Love it. I sit in my ivory tower, as you guys do. I was the worst teacher for 2 years in Southern California. I knew I couldn't stick in the profession, and so I'm thinking about what are the things that matter. Why do we care to get out of the union? What are the things that we would use as talking points to our peers and all that? And then Matthew, how do we use social media a lot for this and how? Because I'll tell you, my work is I predominantly work with boards. My clients are school boards, charter school boards, or school district boards, and I know how frail they are when they get attacked on social media, and how responsive and sort of it's so bigger than life to them to get some sort of mockery on social media. So how does that play into all of this?
So first of all, I wanted to mention something about membership. Rusty mentioned membership, and I think it's important to recognize that membership does not reflect support. So there are teachers here who are not supportive of their union that are members. There could be 20, 30% of the union membership that does not like their union. They want a union. They're afraid to opt out of their union, but that doesn't mean that the union has 60%, 70%, whatever their percentage is. They don't have that much support. You should consider their support 20, 30% less than whatever the membership is, and then reevaluate to see if maybe you have the numbers to decertify or form a local independent union. So there's a lot of things to consider that way, like math. You're not alone. And in union elections, this is another example. I just want to throw it out there. A union may win an election and say, wow, we just swept this election. Look at how much support we got. We won with 90% and 10% voted. And they're going, we won, it was a landslide. And part of the problem is that most people who don't like the union, don't want the union, they just want to show up and work, go home to their family, do what they're doing, live their life. They don't vote. They don't vote for no union. They don't vote for an alternative union. They don't participate. And so the only people participating are the people who want the status quo, the people who want it to stay the same. They're the ones that are participating at 100%. And those who want things to change are frequently not involved at all. And so things don't change. And that's really an unfortunate truth we've seen. So you've got to motivate people, inspire people, find those people. Social media can be a part of a campaign depending on what's going on, how big it is, and how far along you are in the campaign. I urge back to interpersonal relationships. I think that's how you start it and how you build it, is you really need to talk to people. You need to have meetings. You need to have Zoom meetings, lunches, barbecues in your backyard. If it's getting bigger, depending on the situation, again, it's going to vary from district to district, sizes, communities, how well you know people. You can contact us. If it's large enough and it's a big enough thing, we'll fly in and buy dinner and sit down and have a meeting and answer questions and let people know what they need to do, how you can move forward with things. You were talking about different talking points you can make. One of my favorite talking points is to write a letter and get a group of teachers together. So let's say you get 20, 30 teachers and you go in and you say, hey, you go to the union and or to a meeting. Maybe you're not all invited to the meeting because you're not members. You show up anyways. You tell them you're not there to cause problems, but you want to say a few words. If they don't let you, that's fine. You can leave a flyer, or if one of your teachers are a union member, they can stay and present it. But you can tell them, look, we've got a group of teachers, 20, 30 of us. We're pro-union. We want a strong union. We want to fight for hours, wages, working conditions, things that unions are supposed to do. We're interested in the calendar. We're interested in that. And we need unity, and we want unity. And as long as you're affiliated with the NEA, and they are taking positions on the most controversial social political issues in America, we are guaranteed to be divided, and we are not paying union dues. So they can't call for unity and then take positions that automatically divide us. That's just gaslighting, and we're not going to participate in that. If you want us to be involved with the union, to pay dues and to show up and work together and have a strong union, then the way to do it is to get rid of the current structure. And so that's a strong, positive message. You're not coming in anti-union, you're coming in pro-union, and you're saying, we want unity and we're tired of being gaslit. We're not going to pay union dues to a divisive union that's taking positions on social, political things that have nothing to do with workplace conditions.